District's 2026-27 budgets, and I speak to council session. We are joined tonight by members of the Rochester City School District Board of Education. I ask that everyone join me in a moment of silence before we begin the meeting. As we know, across the country, while we have experienced record lows of gun violence in our community, gun violence is still a challenge. So I ask that we all take a moment to reflect on the progress we've made, but the progress we still have to continue to make in the community, in our community. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Councilmember Patterson, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Might have gone on order here, but we are going to call the roll. The meeting will come to order and ask the clerk to call the roll of the City Council and the Board of Education.
Councilmember Gruber. Here. Councilmember Smith is excused. Councilmember Lupien. Here. Councilmember Martin. Here. Member Monroe. Here. Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Smith. Here. Vice President Harris. Here. President Melendez.
Here. Tonight we're holding public hearings for the pieces of legislation related to the 2026-27 budgets for both the city and RCSD. Staff is assisting participants in signing up for the correct hearings outside of chambers, and the clerk will call names of participants as they arrive. Participants will come to the podium and have 3 minutes to comment on the matter. The hearings for each item will remain open until we have no speakers left. In addition, I would also say if you have not signed up, you are able to approach the podium on a particular hearing. However, we would ask that you provide your name and residency. I ask participants to be respectful and avoid the use of profanities. Before we begin the speaking portion of our hearing, I'm actually going to have Superintendent Dr. Rosser provide us with a 3-minute update on the RCSD budget. I will point the council quickly to the 2026-27 budget highlights and adopted budget one-pager that is in front of us. And Dr. Rosser, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening, President Melendez, Budget, Finance, and Governance Committee Chair, Councilmember Gruber, esteemed members of the Rochester City Council, and members of the public. Thank you for the opportunity to return this evening and provide an update on what's changed since our April 27th budget engagement. I want to acknowledge what we all know to be true. Given a budget shortfall of nearly $50 million, this has been a very difficult budget process. No responsible budget comes without hard choices. Since the April 27th hearing, the district refined the 26-27 budget to reflect updated assumptions and staffing adjustments adopted by the Board of Education in May. One of the clearest changes in the overall impact of our full-time employees is the reflection that originally 76 employees were going to be impacted by our budget. That May adopted budget reflected a reduction only indicating that 16.8 employees would be impacted by this change. This represents a change of 59.2 FTEs from the draft to adoption. This process also required us to carefully assess whether programs and services are implemented consistently, appropriately, and in alignment with required processes, commissioner's regulations, as well as the law. Compliance is not separate from student support. It helps ensure services are delivered appropriately, consistently, and responsibly. At its core, this budget keeps students at the center. It strengthens instruction through school-based allocation, coaching and intervention supports, reading teachers, multilingual supports, and expanded pre-K programming. It also expands student opportunity through career and technical education, college career readiness, as well as enrichment. It deepens the connection between school, home, and community through community schools, a new parent center, multilingual family supports, and stronger family engagement. We all know that when parents, the school, and the community come together, that our students most certainly exceed. It supports staff through professional learning, wellness initiatives, recruitment and retention efforts, and compensation equity. It also strengthens the core operations of our schools that are relied upon each and every day, including transportation, facilities, safety, communications, and technology, so that students and staff can focus on teaching, learning, and belonging. We also have to be honest about the road ahead. Our current long-range forecast shows a potential gap of approximately $61 million next year. Given the financial outlook before us, this work will require continued discipline, careful planning, and partnership between the district, the city, our schools, our families, and our community at large. As we move forward, our responsibility is to make disciplined, transparent decisions that protect student learning, strengthen school communities, and place the district on a more stable long-term path. Thank you very much for inviting us this evening to be a part of this public hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Rosser. And at this time, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll for the Board of Education Commissioners.
Commissioner Camille Simmons, Commissioner Amy Malloy, Commissioner Dr. Heather Feynman, Commissioner Kareem Ba McCullough, Commissioner Jackie Lynn Griffin, Commissioner Beatrice LeBron Harris, Commissioner Isaiah Santiago, Elijah Espada.
Great, thank you. So we are going to allow for the public hearings to be taken out of order, and we are going to start with introductory number 242, and I'll turn it over to the clerk.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: levying taxes for school purposes for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2026 and expiring June 30th, 2027. Introductory number 242. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. Mickey DePerner. Is Mickey here? Okay,
Thank you. No worries.
sorry. Marcus C. Williams.
This is on school budget.
So every year, the city has mandatory funding that they have to apply to the school district. And that's awesome, right? Everybody loves it, that money always goes to the school district. But what I say
Are there any other speakers for the school district's budget? We haven't called that hearing yet.
All right, seeing no other speakers, that hearing is now adjourned. RCSD members, you're welcome to stay as long as you want, or you're welcome to leave.
While they're leaving, folks, I know you want to come tonight and be heard. You're all signed up to speak, and we really love having you. But the mic works, as you can hear it, when you speak right into it. But if you do one of these and you don't speak into it, we can't hear it. So please, when you come up, speak right into the mic just so everyone can hear you. And then also folks who may be hard of hearing and also our sign language interpreters can hear you as well so that they can make sure that everyone gets your message tonight, okay? Thank you so much.
So before we proceed to my council colleagues, I just want to provide a quick additional update. Given that we got some new information tonight and also the fact that the adopted budget was changed for RCSD from our previous hearing, I'd ask that if council has additional questions, you get them to Councilmember Gruber to be able, as finance chair, to direct them over to the RCSD administration. And if we can get those questions, I know this is a short turnaround, but if we can get those questions by close of business tomorrow, we'll try to get them over to RCSD ASAP. Clerk Washington.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: adoption of the budget estimates for municipal purposes for the 2026-27 fiscal year and appropriations of sums set forth therein. Introductory number 239. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. Marcus C. Williams. It is 2:39.
To be
The
the
city's
adoption
budget.
of the budget estimates.
Hello, everybody. Marcus C. Williams here. And I wasn't sure whether this went in this section or the next section as far as the budget goes, so I'm just going to say it here. I know that you guys are considering some funds for what you're labeling currently as refugees money, but I know that that money is going to go to illegal aliens, people that are here that should not be here, that are not here in the legal ways in which they should be, and those people that are supposed
Are there any other speakers on the city's budget?
Good evening, council members. Housing was identified as Rochester's #1 concern. 63% of Rochester residents are renters. Yet this budget does little to expand affordable housing, provide rent assistance, prevent evictions, or help people stay stably housed. Instead, the city continues to fund more than 100 long vacant positions in the Rochester Police Department. I think it is fair to ask at this point whether they were ever intended to be filled at all. What they effectively provide is a taxpayer-funded overtime slush fund that allows the department to maintain inflated staffing allocations while generating additional overtime spending. While these vacancies remain funded year after year, other departments face cuts, layoffs, and reduced services. The proposed use of $325,000 in opioid settlement funds raises similar concerns. These dollars were awarded to address the devastating impact of the opioid epidemic through prevention, treatment, recovery, and harm reduction. Yet this proposed budget wants to use some of these funds to offset library security costs. If a social worker position is directly addressing substance use disorder, overdose prevention, and recovery support, that is one thing. But opioid settlement funds should not become a backdoor funding source for general security expenses. The public deserves a clear accounting of where this money is going and how every dollar is being used directly to support opioid prevention, treatment, recovery, or harm reduction efforts. Meanwhile, Peace Village still remains unfinished. Peace Village is exactly the kind of investment these funds were intended to support: housing, stability, harm reduction, and care for people with complex behavioral health and substance use needs. While transformational projects remain incomplete, we are stretching opioid settlement dollars into areas far removed from their original purpose. When Rochester is struggling with housing instability, poverty, substance use disorders, and mental health crises, you continue to prioritize enforcement over prevention, short-term responses over long-term stability, and policing over the community supports that help people succeed and thrive. And lastly, I did not work my butt off for 8 months to get that sanctuary ordinance passed for you to not give Rochester's Refugees Helping Refugees the money. That is what we did that for, so we could help the people in our neighborhoods who are the homeless people on our streets, by the way. We have homeless immigrants on our streets. Very hard to protect yourself from ICE when you don't have a front door. Fund, fund, fund the things that actually help your citizens, not RPD. Thank you.
Any other speakers on the city's budget?
Yes.
Please state your name for the record.
Thank you. Barbara Jean Indovino, property owner, resident, taxpayer, Rochester, New York. This was in the Democrat and Chronicle on June 3rd. I'm going to quote what they wrote in here. This is about the budget. The investments proposed in the budget are centered around the administration's 6 priority areas, which are public safety, which we desperately need, economic development, strong neighborhoods, which we are desperate for strong neighborhoods, and that means, and that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight, youth development, fostering resilience, and opportunity and prosperity for all. Okay? It's right here. It's right here. These are your 6 priorities, the administration's 6 priority areas about the budget. Don't waste the money. Put it to good use. The city is desperate. I am desperate. I've got a nice neighborhood. I want to keep it that way, but there's things happening shouldn't be happening. Thank you.
All right, seeing no other speakers, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: adoption of the budget estimates for school purposes for the 2026-27 fiscal year and appropriation of sums set forth therein. Introductory number 240. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. Please state your name.
Mickey DePerna. I was chosen to be on RCSD's mental health committee. I met the mother, sister, and father of Kat Benoit, the soda student who jumped off the building last year. I have been doing my best to advocate for LGBTQ students specifically in these schools. It was really confusing to me when RCSD decided to cut funding for some mental health services. And I understand there's a lot to this budget I probably don't understand. But what I do understand is there was a lot of mental health professionals, people on the ground in the field who are working with these kids every day, who spoke out against it. And I would be remiss if I didn't come here today and say, don't do it, because everybody who's in the field, in these schools, asked them not to do it, and they did it anyway. For our kids who are jumping off of these buildings, I am asking you, don't pass this budget. Tell them to go back to the drawing board and instead fund the services that our kids need. Find cuts somewhere else, because our kids' mental health support in the middle of a mental health crisis nationwide is not the way to go. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Please state your name for the record.
How are you doing? My name is Abdul Bounds. My name is Abdul Bounds, district employee, SSO. Cuts, more money. We just use common sense on here. Can we use common sense on here? Okay. So we're going to increase the budget with the graduation rate looking like what to increase a budget. Okay. When I'm actually like really boots on the ground. Actually a person that's actually inside of these schools every day, day by day, trying to figure this stuff out. It's one council member on here that's trying to even help these young people even get out their situations. So the cut or to even give more funding is like diabolical, because again, the graduation rates are showing it. I'm tired of everybody blaming poverty on the issue and black kids and race, and please, can we stop with all the nonsense, all right? I know what it took to get out of the Rochester City School District, to go to college a little bit and be very successful in life. Again, the situations in the hood that you come from do not determine you. Once again, the situations in the hood that you come from do not determine you. The color of your skin, once again, does not determine where you come from. If you put those barriers and them situations in place, again, this racism thing, again, black, white, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. Here in this country, I thought that's America. Thank you.
Yep. I'm just want to say, because I've been surprised. City School District has so many meetings. I don't understand why, if they're going to talk to the community, they have to invite you to talk. Why can you go to their meeting if they're going to talk about something that's going on in the community? They have to call you and say it's okay that you can go and talk about what the problem they have. No, it's not that way. Parents, grandparents, even guardians, they have the right to go to a meeting that they have. They don't need no invitation, because when a child goes missing, a child die out of their hands, then they're going to say, do we need permission? No, they're not going to say that. You know, they clean their hands, and then what's going to happen to the parents, okay? So we need to change something in here that is going around so long, and we don't need, so they can cut social worker, counselors, you know, even sentries to protect our kids, okay? So we need to get together and do a big meeting about that. All that money that is going around doing something else, spend it where it belongs, okay? Thank you.
Since we're talking about our kids, the most precious thing in our lives when you're a parent. I come from a home with no father. My father left me at the age of 3. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in the middle of the hood, middle of the ghetto, poor housing. My mother's struggling as a textile worker to make sure that we have clothes and we eat. But one thing my mother made sure that we made it in 2 places in life. And one was school and one was church. We got 70% of our kids in this city, 70% of our kids in this city who do not make it to school. And the question that we should ask ourselves, where are they? And what are they doing? And how do we get them back to school? And why do we hold them to accountability, the parents, to make sure that those kids go to school and get an education? Because if the parents and government don't get together on this, it will be another statistic of these kids in the system with a number back of the t-shirts instead of graduating from high school or college. So think highly about this, because this is a very deep ground problem. 70% of these kids not making it to school. Let's help them succeed. Let's help them graduate. Let's help them go to college. Let's help them hold a job and hold a family and a marriage. Because if we don't do that, our kids will be somewhere else. Thank you.
Zell Trayvon Ezekiel, that's my new name, formerly known as Zell Harris. I do want to speak on the mental health issue. I'm a disabled veteran, and I receive mental health treatments every month. In fact, I'm receiving treatment because I'm sort of like very nervous, and I get panic attacks when I'm driving on highways. I could drive around the city very safely, but I can't get on 490 or 590. So I'm receiving treatment. So for this veteran, it's very important that I have that treatment. And thank you, Mickey, for mentioning about the School of the Arts. I knew about that case, and I spoke out at the school board about the cuts. I really can't, really express myself so well when I think about the cuts to mental health. I work with veterans. I do a prison and jail ministry. And let me tell you what happens when you don't get the mental health treatment that you need. You end up in prison or you end up dead. And unfortunately, what I'm seeing in society, especially in Rochester, we have issues of substance abuse, mental health issues, and people who are without shelter. And yet we don't want to provide the monies for that. We're more interested in parties in the park or jazz events and things like that, but it's the mental health. See, I don't even like coming downtown. I only come downtown on business. I don't come downtown for any other reason because I don't want to deal with what I see out in the streets. And unfortunately, a lot of us, even myself, need mental health treatment. So to me, it's very important. And so to see what's happening in the school district, the children need to learn conflict resolution. They need the social workers. They need psychiatrists. But it's really sad what we see going on in the city. And when you don't have mental health treatment, you see exactly what's happening in the White House.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, my name is Michelle Thomas, and I'm a citizen here. I wanted to speak about with the mental health and with the school district and things of that nature. As a resident here, a long-term resident, I can say my experience of being within the Rochester City School District was that we had a lot of abundance of resources and support growing up. And I've noticed that a lot of those after school programs was discontinued and they're not as effective anymore as they would if it was back in the day as they were. And so I think that something that we should be able to do is try to reconnect, try to restructure and rebuild. Not exactly the way how it used to be, but something of according to what's needed. So we need support, we need guidance, we need someone that's able to connect our families and kids to other activities to inspire and to try to rebuild them again. Because the problem is we have a lot of these kids who are running out here just wild and unruly because they don't understand their consequences until it's too late. So I think that a big thing that we probably could do is try to restructure and try to create programs that's more effective to the need of now. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. Marcus C. Williams here. And as far as the school budget goes, I know this isn't going to be a popular opinion for a lot of people, but it's a fact. I am very sick and tired of every governmental part of our government here locally doing somebody else's job. The school district's job is not counseling, it's not psychology, it's educating the students. We have no education for our students. They are graduating functionally illiterate. Can't do math, can't do basic reading, can't do basic writing, nothing. What opportunities are they going to have for the future? And you have to ask yourself, why is this happening? Well, because our schools are focused on everything else except actual education. And this goes into the social work and the psychology and all of that. Most of these kids don't have any psycho issues, don't have any mental issues. They need their behind whooped. That's what it is. They need some discipline. There's no discipline in the schools. There's no structures in the schools. You can't tell the kids nothing. They act in a raw riot, okay? They causing all types of confusion. The teachers can't teach. And I know a lot of you guys are involved with people or adjacent to the school system. So it's not like you guys don't know. You guys know what's happening. And there's no accountability for them in the school. We know that a lot of parents are either working or not interested in their students and in their children, okay? And they don't get that structure in the schools. They don't get the structure at home. And the police can't do anything to get them any structure either. So there's no accountability. So we're stealing away the future of our children, and then we wonder why they act a raw riot outside. So you say that it's mental health. It's not. But if we are going to put money towards mental health, it shouldn't be coming from the school district budget. That should be coming from the county or the state. That's their job. That's not the school district's job. The school district needs to function on focus on education. They can't read, they can't write, they can't do math. What opportunities for the future will they have? You can't get a job like that. And jobs are already hard to come by. A lot of people have degrees, master's degrees, bachelor's degrees. They're working at Starbucks. So you tell me if you can't read or can't write, what job you have. We've got the kids, I know you guys might have seen the Berkeley Beans thing last year where he interviewed the 13-year-old and the 11-year-old, and they were like, well, we don't see a future or any opportunity, so we're just waiting to die. Waiting to die. This is what the school district has done to our children. They are stealing the children's future away. And we need to address that issue by focusing on accountability, discipline, and structure in the school district, and the funding needs to reflect that. And right now, it's not. There's more money every year. When we have less schools, less students, and less teachers, you make it make sense to me. That's what I got to say. The school district should focus solely on education. Math, reading, writing, arithmetic, social studies. Y'all be blessed.
All right, seeing no additional speakers, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: levying taxes for municipal purposes for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2026 and expiring June 30th, 2027. Introductory number 241. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Hello, everybody. Marcus C. Williams here, and I want to talk on the levy for the taxes and stuff like that. I know people are like, oh, well, the taxes have gone down, but the assessments went up last year. Who's stupid? Like, I feel like my face is being played in real hard, right? Like, 5% out of $100,000 is not less than 5% out of $200,000. Like, I'm not stupid. But I see these different big buildings downtown continue to get tax waivers or tax deferments and all of this stuff like that. I'm kind of concerned about that because I don't see that happening for our every average day citizens. I don't see anything for new homeowners where they get a tax deferment, maybe a new homeowner that's, I don't know, maybe a special program that graduated from RCSD and now they've got a job. Maybe they get a deferment of 5 years on their taxes. Why? Because we don't have any financial or fiscal education that comes out of the schools, so nobody really knows a lot about taxes. A lot of people end up on the tax rolls not ending up paying their taxes, which, Lord willing, they would do so the city has more money. But I'm very concerned about that, and I also know that the non-homestead allocations have gone up, right? So that's where the taxes went up, but they say that the taxes for regular homeowners didn't go up, but essentially they did. And I believe that this needs to be a more open conversation because it's really like people are playing on the ignorance of the citizens and them not knowing how math works because we know the school district is kind of terrible. And when I say kind of, I mean that gently, you know? So also I have another question. When it comes to all of these different new government housing units and stuff like that, how is the tax working on these things? Because I know they get the various tax abatements and stuff like that, and then it seems like they get sold off after every couple of years, and then there's more tax abatements and stuff like that. And this is just from what I've seen. Now, I don't know if this is a pattern, I don't know if this is a systematic thing, or I don't know if it's just a matter-of-fact thing, or if it just looks that way and it's not actually the thing. But from what I can tell, it absolutely is a thing. And it's kind of concerning because it seems as though that's money that's being drawn out of the possible bottom line of the city, which could actually lower the taxes for more of the citizens. And I'd like to see something done to address that. Thank you very much.
Trayvon Ezekiel. I live at 19 Quincy Street. My family has owned that home for 45 years. And I can tell you in the last several years, my property taxes, which I pay, have more than doubled. I'm paying with the county and with the city and the water bill over $4,000 a year. I'm not complaining because I can pay it. What I'm saying is that what am I getting for the additional increase in my taxes? And I'm hearing that, and I can see it, that we're more than 100 police officers short. And I don't want you guys to screw those numbers up and change the format how you determine the coverage of the city. I was there when those 4 police officers were hurt at that Casa restaurant on East Main. I filmed that, and some of you saw that. You could still see it. And the backup came from the sheriff department, the state police. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, sheriff gave this woman in front of my house a ticket, 18 tickets, and I'm wondering why is the sheriff department giving tickets in the city? Because we don't have the coverage by the Rochester Police Department. A friend of mine that lives on Merchant Road called the police about 2 months ago because his son's mother kept knocking at the door. It took the police 3 hours to get there. On Merchant Road, it's a pretty good neighborhood. 3 hours to get there. And an officer told him, we just don't have the manpower. I'm hearing that from police officers. And I'll tell you, it's going to rear its ugly face. You know, since December, we had 4 police officers shot. Just a few weeks ago, we had officers having bleach thrown on them. telling you, if the city, the mayor, the police chief, whatever, if they don't get their act together, officers are going to get hurt this year. I don't want that to happen. And I'm speaking as a former police officer. I was a military policeman, so I know the responsibilities of the job. I know what we're supposed to do. But the elected officials need to do their jobs. They need to do their jobs, and it's going to show its ugly face if we don't have the coverage. And it's really sad what's happening. We get this increase, which I don't mind paying the taxes, but we need to get what we're paying for. I will tell you that on my street during the summer, we had over 116 inches of snow this past year, and I will say you did a pretty good job on my street. So if you can do it for the snow, I want you to do it for public safety. So for me, that's more important, public safety. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Any additional speakers on that item?
All right, seeing no additional,
Just this week, actually a couple of days ago, I had the opportunity to walk with the police and walk with the NSC office. And my concern was, because I know what's going on, I know the shortage that we have of police officers is huge. Because my merchants, my taxpayer merchants, they pay taxes. And when something happens that they are concerned and that safety comes against them, and they make a 911 call and the police cannot show up, that is serious situation. And I'm not sure what you in government are doing. But I will tell you that there's a lot of concerns out there that police officers are not showing up on calls 911. That's not good, because eventually these merchants will get hurt. And it's not fair that these officers go out on a call, especially on a domestic call, and that's not a backup for them. And that's where they put their life in danger. So I want you to think carefully what I'm going to tell you right now. They have a family. They are a father, they are a mother, and they have kids. And the same way that you as government deserve to go home safely to your house, to your family, those officers on the street should have that same right. Please don't continue to ignore what I'm telling you, because eventually more officers will get hurt, more officers will get killed. Eventually my merchants will get shot because a police officer cannot make it to a call. This is serious. This is what we're paying taxes for, so we can get officers when we need them, not 3 hours later or 4 hours later after somebody's bleeding on that street dead. Is that what you guys want? That's fine. But that is not the call that we should be doing. Please sit down and think this over. We're under over 100 police officers short. And every day these officers go on that street, and every day they're putting their life on the line. They need to have the right to go home and also see their family, the little kids. So please think about this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Thomas. I also agree with.
Can you move closer?
Can you hear me now? Sorry. Hi, my name is Michelle Thomas. I also agree with additional things that the other citizens were saying. It's the issue is that we have police officers who do not have as much power, or they're not approved to do certain things as far as go with protecting and serving. So therefore, we're forced to have other people come in, like state troopers, and a lot of citizens are not familiar with them or their rules and regulations and policies, which cause a bigger issue, because now there's the question of, okay, well, what are they allowed to do? And now it's more of trying to relearn what is legal and what's not legal from state troopers versus RPD. So if we're able to try to restructure that, where the police can intervene and where they can help de-escalate things and try to, because I know at one point there was a crisis intervention that was created, that program as well, but a lot of people are not utilizing them as well. So it's just more so of just trying to figure out who can do what and just try to revamp and restructure that as well. I think that would be very helpful.
All right. Seeing no additional speakers on that item, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: local improvement ordinance, street cleaning, street and sidewalk, snow removal, and hazardous sidewalk repair, commencing July 1st, 2026, and expiring June 30th, 2027. Introductory number 243. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. Marcus C. Williams.
Hello, everybody. Marcus C. Williams here. I wanted to talk about the actual sidewalks being plowed. I know that we have a certain height, allegedly, that we call them to come and plow the sidewalks, but apparently, I don't know, that doesn't happen, at least not where I live. You know, and I know a lot of side streets have that issue. I know we have a lot, hundreds of miles of sidewalks altogether, and I know it's a lot, but maybe we need to reanalyze how we're doing that. One thing I'd like to see is, you know how we have the new updated, the GIS where it's tracking where the plows are going and stuff like that. I'd like to see a reference where people can see how often they're going to the different areas so that they can try to figure out the same type of situation, not just for their areas, but also for street sweeping. Because I don't know if a street sweeper's been down my street in like the last 5 years, to be honest. And this is another issue with the street sweepers. I'd like to see something like that, like a comprehensive GIS thing where they can track the street sweepers as well. I'm not exactly sure how the street sweepers get deployed, and I don't know that there is a simple and easy way other than calling like 311. I don't know if we can put in that app a way to actually say, hey, let me put in for a street sweeper on my street, but try to make it a little more easier for our citizens to call for street sweepers and for their street to be plowed, specifically the sidewalks. Because if you bike, you can't use the sidewalk. You definitely can't use the street now that we've got bike lanes, because the bike lanes can't get plowed, because that's where all the snow goes now that they're no longer actually drivable lanes. You can't ride your bike in the middle of the winter. You should be able to. You used to be able to before you guys cut down all of the roads, which was haphazard and ill-gotten. That's not the word I wanted to use, though. I had a different one in my head. It got convoluted. But the fact of the matter is I can't ride my bike in the winter. I can't walk on the street in the winter. I can't walk on the sidewalk in the winter because they don't get plowed. The sidewalks are terrible. People get hurt, okay, walking on these sidewalks because you don't do anything to them. The ice is up this high because it's layer upon layer upon layer. When it finally does get plowed down, now you're walking on ice for 6 weeks. This is dangerous. And eventually somebody's going to sue the city. And it's going to be costing us more money than it would just to handle the issue, which is also a community of life issue ahead of time. So I'd like to look into some adjustments, and if there's any way I could work with anybody on that, definitely I'm here. Thank you, guys.
Can you hear me? All right. Thank you, City Council, for taking the time to listen to everybody speak. My name is Hannah Vlasovich. I just want to say, I think the concerns I had last year in regards to the sidewalk snow removal was concerning. several streets I walked on, they're icy. You know, when we talk, a lot of people here are talking about public safety, you know, like we need more public safety, but we don't think about, you know, clearing sidewalks and keeping our streets safe for people to walk and use as public safety. And I think we should. So the main thing I'm asking is for this budget to have more investment in clearing the sidewalks for snow removal. As was said, you know, older people, like icy sidewalks is a tripping hazard and a slip hazard for people, not just old people, but anyone in general. And it'll just make our streets more safer. So thank you, and I hope you have a good evening.
This is specific to the sidewalk snow removal and hazardous sidewalk repair program.
Okay. Barbara Indovino. $707 million. That's a lot of money, you guys. A lot of money. I'd like to know, too, where all this money is going. Transparency is key. I have a real okay, another thing. You all should know this. Rochester is receiving $35 million in temporary municipal assistance. $50 million this is from the state, I think. I could be wrong. Could be part of the $707 million budget. $50 million is coming from the Consolidated Local Street and Highway Improvement Program. You got to stop wasting our money, folks. You really got to stop wasting our money. We have streets that need to be repaved, curbs need to be replaced. We need more lighting, trimming of trees that are covering signage, and do not use that chip seal. That makes a mess. You did it on Bartlett Street. We saw it on the news. Don't use chip seal. Please don't use that. But we've got some real issues here. For 3 years, I've been talking to one of your associates with street design, trying to get my street repaved. I have no gutters. We have no curbs. My sidewalk's a mess. It's not in the budget, she keeps telling me. There's other streets that need paving. Where is this money going? Really? Where's this money going, guys? Come on. We want our streets fixed. It's a lot of money coming from the taxpayers, and some of it is coming from the state, I guess. Okay? Really? I love Rochester. I don't want to move. A lot of people here don't want to move. But there's a lot of problems here, and there's a lot of money coming in New York State. Where is this money going? Where is this money going, folks? Come on. Thank you.
My name is Louis Aponte. I live at 47 Trental Street. Homeowner for 28 years in the Northwest. And all I have to say is we got to hold people accountable. Last year, I had to go back to my job 3 times to get the plow truck in order to get my street plowed. School buses were stuck in front of my home. It got to the point where the school buses wouldn't come up the street and waited all the way down on Otis Street and made the kids walk down there to get picked up, which was a danger in itself because the sidewalks weren't plowed either. So, you know, the neighbors and I had my cousin come and plow, and, you know, it's just not right. To me, we pay taxes. Taxes are going to happen. We're going to pay our bills. It is what it is. But every time I called 311 or spoke with anyone, they said it's a private contractor, it's not a city plow. They're coming from Syracuse. They're busy, or their trucks are broken. That doesn't matter when we can't get out of our homes. That's a problem. Someone has to be held accountable for that. It got to the point that we called so many times, the city finally sent a plow truck, but it was a pickup truck, and had to go through the street, and the plow truck got stuck. Pickup truck got stuck. That's how much snow was in the street. All I'm saying is, as a taxpayer, someone has to be held accountable when these things fail. You know, I'm gonna pay my taxes. I'm not gonna stop paying my taxes. I just want the service that I'm paying for. That's all I'm asking for. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. My name is Sam Lowtemple. I think you guys are doing a good job with the sidewalks. I will tell everybody here in this room, they're not the problem. But I guess what I'm saying is we sometimes don't have the services because we got dumped on the snow. We'll help your neighbor out. Shovel off their walkway. Like I said, everyone in this room wants to do change, but, you know, like people in this room are not the problem. I guess what I'm trying to say is help your neighbor. And then we're talking about, hey, more money, more money. Sometimes more money doesn't help it. Maybe we promote, hey, shovel out the 90-year-old guy next to you. You know, maybe you guys are concentrating on the streets. Maybe do some like promotion like that. Just goodwill. Thank you.
All right, seeing no additional speakers on this item, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: confirming the assessments, amounts, and charges to be inserted in the annual tax rolls for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2026 and expiring June 30th, 2027. Introductory number 244. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Another thing I want to see you guys get it right. Veterans, you guys take care of it in the city. Greece has problems, Gates has problems. They're all talking about city council and all their, but I'm just saying we don't have that problem here. You guys took care of that. Thank you.
Off subject, but thank you. Seeing no additional speakers, that hearing is now adjourned. All right, so that concludes our joint public hearing with the Rochester City School District. Thank you for all joining us for that portion of the meeting. We'll now move to the Speak to Council session. Oh, excuse me. I stand corrected. We will move to our public hearings and Speak to Council sessions. So New York State law requires that City Council hold public hearings as it considers specific legislative actions. The clerk will open each public hearing, and anyone wishing to comment on the relevant matter may come to the podium at that time. After public hearings conclude, we will move to Speak to Council. Speak to Council is a time for members of the public to comment on any and all matters relating to the city. Sign-ups for this session closed at 4:30 p.m. this afternoon. The list of speakers can be found at the back of the room and in the hallway. Speakers discussing legislation on this month's City Council agenda are placed on the A list. Speakers commenting on all other matters are placed on the B list. Under council rules, we'll hear from city residents first. As a reminder, the council is here to listen to all matters, and it's customary that we do not respond. So now let's begin this month's public hearings. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes at the podium, and the clerk will lead us through each hearing. Clerk Washington.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: approving the 2026-27 annual action plan. Introductory number 181. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Good evening, council members. My name is Satara Haidari, and I'm here representing our agency, Refugees Helping Refugees. More importantly, I'm standing here as a proud city resident alongside with my neighbors. I'm speaking as a proud staff member supporting our legal services program while I pursue law school. When I came here as a refugee, I was a client with this agency. We have deep roots in this community. We are entirely community-led for too long. Outside groups have stepped up to this microphone to speak for us. True representation means we speak for ourselves, design our own solution, and control our own society, and destinies. We talk about a lot about dignity in this chamber, so let's explicit about what adequacy actually means. Adequacy means providing resources to those who need it the most in this exact moment. As detailed in our official agency documentation, we don't just talk, we deliver, we run our fresh food pantry, provide critical emergency case management, meet absolute basic human services needs, and physically place people into sustainable jobs. Our workload has increased from 50 to 85 clients daily. Yet our funding has been cut by more than half due to abrupt changes in federal funding policies. We have done the hard work of securing partial support from the United Way, which helps keep our doors open. But a bridge built halfway across a river is still a drowning hazard. We need the city to step up. We appreciate that we recently voted to declare Rochester a sanctuary city. We celebrated that vote. But a sanctuary is not declaration written on the paper. It's physically reality of survival. Your support on this 125,000 grant matters immensely. It sends a message to our people that the city actually has our backs. We need you to be our safety net tonight, just as we are a safety net for the community. We need you to make equity real. Thank you so much.
Seeing no additional speakers on this item, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: authorizing substantial amendments to the 2018-19 Annual Action Plan and appropriating 2026-27 Annual Action Plan funds for home buyer assistance. Introductory number 191. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Seeing no speakers, that hearing is now adjourned. All right, that concludes our public hearings. We'll now move to speak to council session. All speakers will be given 2 minutes at the podium. We respectfully ask that each speaker offer council the same respect they would expect to receive in return. In doing so, please refrain from profanity and other harmful language. Please note that the Speak to Council is a time for members of the public to speak to City Council as a body, as a whole. Please do not direct or call out any individual members of City Council or city staff. In that vein, please do not direct any comments at any individual on this body or in the room. Council members have contact information for all of tonight's speakers and may follow up on any concerns that pique their interest. Clerk Washington will call each speaker to the podium. We ask that you respect the time of those waiting behind you and yield the podium at the end of your allotted 2 minutes. Clerk Washington.
Hannah Velasquez is from the East District, followed by Henry Liskey.
All right. Hello, City Council. My name is Hannah. I'm a resident of the city and living in the East District. I'm here to talk about the proposed city budget. Around 27% of the city's budget is going towards RPD, with them allocating for 100 vacant positions that will not be filled. With other departments forced to cut positions, programs, and more, it shows what the city cares about investing in. From the community response, 75% of responders wanted alternative response models, and yet the mayor continues to invest more in the police than programs to enact what the community wants. Overtime for RPD last year hit $15 million, and it's expected to exceed that this year. We cannot continue to let RPD increase both their overtime and pension budgets without accountability. Second, the city is spending less than $1 million on new housing. You have all said that housing is a top priority, yet the mayor during the budget hearing said that housing is not a city issue, but something the county needs to address. yet there has been no concrete steps to ensure that the county enacts on it. We need to build truly affordable housing that reflects the AMI of the city, not the county. Additionally, there are no renter assistance programs. Renters in Rochester make up about 2/3 of the population here. With skyrocketing rents, why are we not able to have programs to ensure people stay in their apartments? Lastly, it's to fund Peace Village and create new low barrier shelters. Since 2020, we've seen an increase in the number of unhoused people here in the city. With the rise of cost of living, one can only expect the number will continue to rise. Despite that, the city has not taken necessary steps it needs in order to address this issue. Peace Village has been vacant for over 3 years. It would take around $1 million to start funding. Shelters have been overwhelmed, and we need to invest more in low barrier shelters if we want to address the issue head on.
Henry Liskey. Michelle Thomas. Grace Helton. Grace is from the South District.
Hello, my name is Grace Helton. I'm here today also to talk about the proposed city budget. Unsurprisingly, given the current fiscal situation, many departments in the city are facing severe budget cuts, with many of them needing to reduce services or eliminate positions. For example, the Bureau of Business and Housing is eliminating 3 full-time positions and losing over 25% of its current budget. This is the department which administers a number of important housing programs, including programs for home buyers and programs to help residents make needed housing repairs. Given the current fiscal reality, these budget cuts are not surprising in and of themselves, but what is surprising is that the Rochester Police Department is not facing any of the scarcity that so many other city departments are facing. Instead, in the proposed budget, RPD would command over 1/4, 25% of the entire budget for the city of Rochester. In fact, if the budget is passed as is, the police department will enjoy the largest budget in its history. In developing the budget, the city conducted surveys in order to determine which priorities we residents have when it comes to the budget. A common theme is that the police department takes up already far too much of the budget. Many respondents also expressed an interest in alternative response teams and in proactive mental health services in order to improve public safety. Respondents also expressed support for housing programs, including rental programs. I am asking that you council members reject the proposed budget. Please insist on reductions in this ludicrously bloated police budget so that those funds can be redistributed to other needy programs, such as, but not exclusive to, housing programs. People who actually live and vote in Rochester, such as myself, are paying close attention to this budget process. We are no longer going to support politicians who continue prioritizing the police department and the Locust Club over voters. Thank you.
Marcus Figueredo is followed by Corey Merritt. Marcus is from the East District.
Hi, I'm Marcus Figueredo. I'm going to keep it kind of short. Simply, it is a disgrace that 26% of the proposed Rochester city budget is to be spent on RPD while leaving so many other important programs underfunded. It is a disgrace that so many people in the city are left unhoused without sufficient rental assistance. It is a disgrace that so many people struggle with food insecurity in the city of Rochester, to the point that it has been referred to as a food desert. It is simply a disgrace that City Hall has decided to spend our money in such a grossly irresponsible manner. We need to stop spending money on RPD and instead invest in solutions that meet our material needs. Thank you.
Corey Merritt. Corey's from the East District, followed by Gregory Levins Higgins.
I live on East and I work on East Ave. I walked here. I'm a renter, and I believe like over 60% of Rochester residents are renters. I think the bloated police budget is something that favors landlords and landowners and property owners. My landlord did not live in the city. He died last year. Now his son owns the building. His son lives in California. A lot of the tenants in my building have had to move out. I'm able to still live there, but it's concerning. I think there's just 26% going to just the police is just too much. That's not going to help renters. That's going to help property owners, and that's not the majority of people in the city. Thank you to those of you who are like trying to fight for renters. I know Stanley, Mary, Kiki, and others are thinking about that. I also want to say I wasn't going to talk about this, but it's come up. I think a lot of us in this room want the same thing. We want outreach for homeless people and people who are struggling and working class people. I don't think dividing us up and calling people aliens is helpful, because those are people who are working, they have families too. They are the people who grow our food that we eat and prepare the food that we eat, harvest the food that we eat. They're roofers, they're construction workers, they're not aliens, they're people. And I think there absolutely is a budget for everyone, and I do think that reducing the bloated police budget will help provide those services. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gregory Labens-Higgins, and I'm speaking today as co-chair of Rochester DSA and as a public defender in our community. We know policing is a broken system. This is demonstrated by the data and confirmed by my experience in the courtroom. Increased police spending doesn't correlate with lower crime. The most heavily policed communities are the same that have been systematically impoverished by decades of segregation, redlining, and unequal employment opportunities. On a daily basis, I see families torn apart, defendants rendered homeless, and those with limited job opportunities being further stigmatized. Drug addiction is still criminalized, and users are often jailed or imprisoned for their disease. Every interaction with police risks unnecessary escalation by officers too willing to enact violence. And yet, there's a refusal to be held accountable. In 2019, Rochester voted overwhelmingly for a police accountability board that the city budget dedicates more than $1/4, nearly $190 million to this broken system. We know there are better alternatives available. We know that if we provide adequate housing, food, and other necessities, when we implement robust mental health and crisis intervention, that crime will be reduced. Not every public safety issue requires an officer with a gun. A budget is a moral document. Let's demonstrate to Rochester residents, and by that I mean everybody living here, that they matter by funding programs that address their material needs rather than prioritizing a dysfunctional system.
Mickey DePerna from the South District.
So everything I said before, and my name is Mickey DePerna, and I'm here from Rochester Grants Pass Resistance, and I really urge you to prioritize solutions over encampment sweeps. Rochester is facing a growing homelessness crisis. As the city considers a budget of more than $680 million and discusses investments in housing, I ask that we follow the evidence. New York City's experience shows that encampment sweeps are expensive and ineffective. A report from the New York City Comptroller found that out of more than 2,300 people removed during sweeps, only 3 ultimately entered permanent housing. Meanwhile, permanent supportive housing costs significantly less than emergency shelter, hospitalization, incarceration, and repeated costs of enforcement. To put it plainly, encampment sweeps costs more than housing people. That's not a made-up statement. There's data there. This is the facts. And to continue sweeping these homeless encampments and kicking people from street to street to street just to make the housed neighbors feel a little bit more comfortable, it's killing people, it's costing more money, and it's not working. It's just not working. Please stop this ludicrous encampment sweep. Even now, with the city workers and the county workers so-called working with the agencies, I sit in on those meetings. I'm hearing from these outreach workers about how the county and city, even though they have a new plan of encampment closures, they're not following those procedures that they made up. People are getting left off of emails. People are getting told, well, we're going to wait till this day to sweep the encampment, but we might be doing it before if we see criminal activity, meaning somebody uses drugs. If you slept on the sidewalk, you'd want to use drugs too. Stop the sweeps.
Satara Hadari. Satara. AJ Jolson.
Hello, my name is AJ Josselson. I am a resident of Rochester. I am asking City Council to reject this budget. This budget not only ignores the most vulnerable people of Rochester, it is also inefficient and wasteful. Dozens of programs and vital city departments are being significantly cut or reduced in this budget, including, but certainly not limited to, housing assistance, public libraries, youth programming, public health services, and neighborhood improvement services. Additionally, despite the fact that over 63% of Rochester residents are renters, this budget includes almost nothing for renters assistance programs or affordable housing programs. The cost of living continues to rise even here, and the lack of city support will force residents to leave. Additionally, there is minimal support for programs to help our unhoused neighbors. Projects such as Peace Village and low barrier shelters have been shown to be significantly effective in other cities, and yet there is still little to no commitment to completing these projects here. So where is our money going? It's going to RPD. Over 26% of the entire budget is dedicated solely to the police department. That's almost $200 million. This budget fully funds over 100 positions that have been vacant for years, raising the question of if these positions are even ever intended to be filled. It seems that this money is functioning rather as a slush fund for overtime payments, and RPD had over $15 million purely in overtime payments last year. That's a lot of money for a city that claims to be cash-strapped. On top of this, the budget slashes funding for the Police Accountability Board, a department that was supported by almost 3/4 of Rochester residents in a ballot referendum. Why are we funding hundreds of vacant police positions while eliminating a significant plurality of the Police Accountability Board positions? RPD does not need 26% of the budget to fund scores of positions that have been vacant for years. We do not need austerity measures that cut essential services for our most vulnerable neighbors. This budget is wasteful and cruel. We need a budget that actually works for Rochester. Thank you.
Amy D'Amico is from the town of Perryton.
Council members, my name is Amy D'Amico. I'm here with Rochester Grants Past Resistance. I'm also talking about the budget and the RPD amount of the budget. 26% of the budget is a lot, and most of the people that you interviewed for the budget and asked them what their priorities were, they said housing. Housing is the priority. And that's citizens who are renters, by and large. 63% of the people in Rochester rent. And yet this budget does nothing to support renters. It does support homeowners, and it stops foreclosures in some instances, which is good, but there's not a lot of support for renters. In the meantime, the police are playing in your face, taking 26% of the budget, asking for 100 vacant positions, even though they only intend or expect to fill 30 of them. That's 70 positions that they are just putting in the budget for nothing. Except it's probably not nothing. It probably is going to overtime. And as you know, once overtime gets tacked onto RPD's salary, which it does, their pensions get higher. And that eats into the city budget. I should be pleased about it because I'm from Perryton and that's where all the cops live. All the money is going to the suburbs. It's city money. But I'm not pleased. I work in the city and I volunteer in the city. And this is where my heart is. I can't afford to live here, but between our G&E and the rent costs. But this is where my heart is. Thank you for listening.
Maya Adula. Scarlett Webb. Rehan McCain or McCann. Nina B. Coates. Albert Agarin.
Well, I was going to speak about something else, but I guess I'm going to change my mind. It's funny how people come up here and they say, cut the police budget. We don't need that budget. We don't need more police officers. But these are the people, when there's a breaking into their home, or they get robbed on the street, or beat up, and the police don't show up, they're the first one to come to City Hall Mayor's office and complain about it. So I am for the police budget, because I know that in the community where I served, there's a lot of issues there that happens. And without the police, how are we going to handle these issues? How are we going to handle the burglary and the robberies and the holdups and things like that? So to those folks, I'll remember you. I will remember you. But I am for the police budget, and I think we need more police officers and more safety in our community.
David Zarabel. Barbara Indovino from the Northwest District, followed by Ms. Morales.
Barbara Indovino. I'm here to talk about beautification of our neighborhoods, removal of eyesore properties. I've never seen so many boarded up buildings or houses in my life. I was born and raised here. West Side, Lyle Avenue is appalling what's going on over there. Even Dutchtown's really bad. That's what I'm here to speak about. Our streets and neighborhoods are being dragged down with negligent, absentee property owners not taking responsibility. Boarded up building, houses, overgrown lawns, disabled junk cars, tires, etc., all over the properties. Houses that were on fire are boarded up, they're not being fixed. Get after these owners. Either make them, fix them up, or tear them down at their expense. The city needs to take pride in the appearance of our neighborhoods. I mentioned it earlier, streets that need to be repaved, curbs replaced, more lighting, trimming of trees that are covering signage. Again, don't use that chip seal. Again, Rochester is receiving $35 million in temporary municipal assistance. $50 million is coming from the Consolidated Local Street and Highway Improvement Program. Put this money to good use. Do not waste it. Code enforcement inspectors need to be out there. Ride these absentee, negligent property owners. These properties encourage criminal activity and bad behavior, driving up the crime, like arson, drug houses, and other illicit activity, people breaking in. We want and need safer and better looking neighborhoods. Start a neighborhood beautification program. Go by district. Encourage home property owners to participate. The winning top 3 areas would get name recognition on the media, also a sign in their district of their achievements. They wouldn't get any monetary money, nothing like that. And one other thing I want to say, why doesn't the mayor ever attend these meetings? Just because he and you are all reelected doesn't mean we approve of what you're doing.
Your time
You need
is
to
up.
do better. Clean up our neighborhoods, get rid of the riffraff, nip crime and bad behavior in the... We've had enough.
Ms. Morales.
Thank you.
Marcus C. Williams.
Ms. Morales is on the way.
Year. People don't make money to pay RG&E and rent. They're building these houses. Who's going to live in them? You can't pay the price where you are at. Some bill needs to be passed to help us. Everybody that's got a job, that's making the money, good for them. The ones that don't have it need help. And you're on here, you're listening to our complaints. Do something about it. Today is us tomorrow.
Marcus C. Williams is followed by Maria Gonzalez. I'm sorry. Can you pull the mic towards you? Thank you.
Don't need their money, okay? They need to show them how to respect each other, how to take consequences, okay? Not only do they go and commit crime, and they go out just in fucking, let's take it out, be outside, okay? And when I got here in 1993, if you committed a crime and you were a 15-year-old, you go to jail. It doesn't matter if you had to go to someplace else and you turned 18 because you committed a crime. Everything is changing and changing and giving so many opportunities to a child. They don't know the difference what they're doing, okay? They need to be in school. They are not set them to do a job. Because if it's not working in school, show them how to be respectful, okay? Get it committed. Thank you.
Maggie Kane. Ronald Dodd.
Refinement, equality, and service. Think of these words as a way of describing what is greatly needed in our community as a greater service for our community and as a greater good for the homeless in the city of Rochester. Now, throughout the entirety of this speech, I now welcome you the words of a man who can identify with the rest of the homeless population, myself. Keeping it on the aisle, I was homeless and in desperate need of a shower. I was stuck on a drug called K2, which eventually I overcame. Addiction had me as if I was under the spell and trapped and lost in the maze of addiction and homelessness. Many of the times that I needed to take a shower, getting one seemed almost impossible because most homeless centers cannot provide enough showers for the homeless population and keeping this on the aisle. Many people would not offer their open door access to their shower or transportation to a shower which was greatly needed. And access to a shower was greatly needed. And I couldn't think about was when I could provide showers to others. That's all I could think about, to help other people. They remember finding empathy because I can identify with their need of a shower, equality for a human being to be provided a shower and feel dignified in the process while rendering selflessness in the community for others in the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, please make sure you're speaking to the mic. Thank you.
really quick. I just want to remind folks, please refrain from profanity. Thank you.
Sam Lotempo.
Is that better? Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, my name is Sam Low Temple. I'm with an organization called Combat News. We're part of a bigger organization called the Veteran Executive Memorial Council. We take care of the War Memorial and the Memorial Day Parade. And I'm here today to thank you guys for lending your city council president for, right, did I say it right? I did, right? Okay. For the Memorial Day Parade. Thank you again. The mayor was also there. They were both announcers. It's great to see our leaders to show the support for our veterans. Miguel, you were fantastic. Him and the mayor did a great job. You did the organization section, the non-for-profits, and this year we were able to donate $2,250 to all the youth organizations for their equipment and stuff like that. So thank you. Keep up the good work, and go Navy, beat Army. All right, thank you.
Ezell Harris.
Before I start, am I allowed to use this? I'm just going to play. My name is Ezell Trayvon Ezekiel. I'm just going to play comments made by the mayor.
We have a small amount of knuckleheads that like to get what I call social media famous. So they actually arrange on social media. We look at the post, and they arrange to go up and fight, and then they want to take their phone out, and they want to be cool, and then they want to post it to social media, and then you have people that pick it up. Meanwhile, they're not showing the kids that are out playing basketball. They're showing the kids that are coming to the beach to try to wreak havoc because they want to become social media famous. That's what this is about. But they're smart enough to do it in a place where they know the fight's going to get broken up. They're not going in the back alley.
And that's my point. Why is the mayor suggesting take your fights into the back alley? Mayor Malik Evans is right to condemn violence and disruptive behavior at public places, but suggesting that fights would somehow be different if they happen in the back alley is a deeply troubling message. Violence should never be normalized, redirected, or treated as acceptable as long as it's out of public view. Public officials have a responsibility to make one thing unmistakably clear. Fighting is unacceptable anywhere. The issue is not where young people are throwing punches. It is the fact that they're throwing punches. Rochester youth deserves leadership that emphasizes prevention, accountability, mentorship, and conflict resolution, not rhetoric that can be interpreted as relocating violence to another place. The mayor's broader point about social media fueled fights and the need to protect families at public parks is important, but the message is weakened when the conversation shifts to where fights occur instead of how to stop them entirely. Rochester residents should be able to enjoy their neighborhoods and public places without fear, and achieving that requires clear, consistent leadership that condemns violence in every setting. Thank you.
Regs Tekin or Tekin. Angela Munson. You have to be signed up on Speak to Council list. You have to sign up to speak for the Speak to Council. Henry Litsky. Satara Hadari. Ma Adula. Scarlett Webb. Regan McCann. Nina Becoats. David Zarabel, and Maggie Kane.
All right, that concludes our list for Speak to Council this month. Our general meeting will be Tuesday at 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. Have a good night, everyone.
conservative.
Yeah.
But I'm very much so about the community. And I think you guys have some ideas that are similar to mine. Just the way and the path to get there is a little bit different.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting that you're advocating against surveillance, but for police. And I think that's a contradictory stance to have. I think that we certainly agree with you about not wanting to expand surveillance. But we'll think if there's an appropriate setting for that discourse. So.
We can talk through it and the format.
I would hope so. I think that there are some issues where there's not middle ground, right? When you're calling people, referring to people as illegal aliens, you're not going to find middle ground on subjects like that. And having a discourse is going to be a waste of time if it's just going to be to yell at each other over things like that. So I think if we're actually looking to have productive conversation or coming into it open-minded with a view to maybe change our stances, then it could be a productive conversation.
Especially those that have different opinions. Because how else can I learn to put on myself?
Well, I respect that. I think that a lot of people are more closed-minded and firm in their positions. I think that you do have good things to say about housing, about our in-house community, and I respect those positions when you bring those up. I think again that those are contradictory with some of the stances on policing. But
I have a lived experience that's a little different. I've been in knife fights. I've been stuck in gun fights. Not my route. And I've met with criminals.
I don't know them all.
Tried to stuff like that.
I didn't think I read that one, but I don't know the work. I understand.
Those sound like some pretty extreme experiences. I think that that's not characteristic of many of the people that are interacting with police on a daily basis.
But you give somebody a
permanent damage to my car.
I appreciate you opening up the dialogue here, and we'll think if there's a forum or just a conversation that might be productive to find common ground so you can achieve the things that we do want to achieve. So, all right.